Hey, good morning to those of you on the West Coast. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast where I'm at. And whatever the middle of the country is experiencing right now, good day to you. I'm really happy you're here. I appreciate you guys showing up every day, especially that you show up. And I'm excited to be teaching you today LinkedIn, right? How we can use LinkedIn for the federal market sales activity that we do on a regular basis, so 30 minutes every day. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I did want to give you just a tip for people who show up early. If you haven't done this before, hit the bell notification on my profile or anybody else's profile where you value the content, so LinkedIn pushes it to you. This morning I did I did this last night. I posted an article that I've been writing, and my tip is actually going to be about waiting on perfection. But I posted an article about the Army and how to get into the Army, things like that, and how to navigate further. And what I decided to do is, it was just this really long article of a lot of useful stuff in there, but I hadn't finished it yet. And I was just waiting to finish it before I posted it. And I just said, forget that. I'm posting it out there. And I think it's like, I don't know, 60% done, but it's in sections. And so 60% of the sections are done and 40% just aren't started. So I just had the headers in there. But what I thought to myself is, don't let, good be sacrificed for great, or whatever that is, right? Don't sacrifice great for the sake of perfection, or sake of great. Anyways, my point is, I just posted it out there, and I want to encourage you to do the same thing. If you've got content that you think that's relevant, you can share with people. Instead of trying to post some big thing, just break it up into chunks and post what you got and say, hey, version or part 2 will be coming soon. And I always love saying soon instead of a specific date. That way, soon could be a year from now. It's like whenever I get to it. So, okay, so we're going to get started here. I want to make sure I'm going to turn this caption off so we don't get that thing going. If you haven't visited the GovCon Chamber website, make sure you visit that. The link is right there on the page, www.govconchamber.com. And the reason I'm saying visit there is because we got multiple directories that you would find valuable. They're free, they're there, and they're yours. So go get them. We've done the research, and you just can do the calling. It'll save you hundreds of hours of time spent doing what we've done. Okay, so let's get started. The fact that you're watching this training today, to me, means that you want to learn how to use LinkedIn at that next level. How do you use it effectively for sales in the federal market? You might be a small business owner, you might be a business developer or capture manager, or somebody in a similar role, and you want to get more results from LinkedIn. I have 18,000 followers on LinkedIn, and most of them are in the federal market. Each month, my content gets over 100,000 views on my content every single month. And every single month, thousands of people are viewing my profile. And I really believe that you can have the same thing. And so if you follow today's training, you can begin to see similar results. If you haven't been here before, I like to provide training that gives you specific tactics and steps that you can take immediately following the training to start doing whatever I'm teaching you. I'm not interested in you just learning more and more and more, but actually you learning enough to be able to move yourself forward in what you're trying to get done. Okay, so if you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald. I am the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I want to welcome you to my daily LinkedIn Live federal sales training, where I provide processes and procedures for you to achieve success in the federal market. I spent 20 years as a small business owner in the federal market, and since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret, it's just a process. A process are the steps from A to Z, and when you follow the process, you achieve predictable results. That's what I want for you. I know that's what you want. And that's the purpose of today's training, is to make sure you have some more process that you can follow. Before we go any further, help buyers remember who you are. In the chat, I just looked down and I see that you don't see my face. I don't know if somebody else can let me know if you can see my face. Gus, throw another one in there. But I'm just going to keep talking, because if you can hear my voice, really that's where the message is, and I'll watch to see if you're seeing my video. But anyways, what I was saying is, make it easy for buyers, for me, for the people in the community to know who you are by putting your company name and your core competency, 2 or 3 words, into the chat. Let us know who you are. Don't ever get tired of putting your company name and your core competency into the chat of my training or anybody else's video content, so that we know who you are. Okay, people can see my face, and I'm thinking that's a positive thing. What was I saying? Oh, as we go through this training, I want you to engage in the chat. I'm going to ask you to put certain things in chat just to let me know you're tracking on what I'm trying to teach. But also, this community is your community. There's ways for you to network in there with different people who might be in cyber like you, or in construction. They might be in Texas like you are. Whatever the reason you might find connections, almost everybody who's in chat is open to a connection. In fact, if you are, I would just put that into the chat as I head off. We've got a lot to cover today. If you haven't been with me before, I move at a fire hose pace. Well, today is like 3 fire hoses coming at you, but it's good information, and it's going to come back. You'll hear me. And in fact, let me just put something in your head so you know what I'm saying. The 30 minutes a day will come down to view, engage, and create. View connections, engage connections, and create content. So I'm going to come back to that. I jumped all the way to the end of my briefing to just let you know where I'm going. I want you to kind of see where I'm going, and then come back to the beginning on why should we be doing 30 minutes a day. First off, people only work with those they know, like, and trust, right? Obviously, they can't work with you if they don't know you. And working on LinkedIn 30 minutes a day is you helping them get to know, like, and trust you. Certainly, as you do activity, you're going to go gangbusters on the knowing part. And depending on what you put out there, increases their trust in you and their in the fact that they like you. And liking is not like, a personal relationship. It's this professional like, where it's like, oh, I like that company, that person. I'd like to work with them. They seem like nice folks. Sometimes you hear people say your culture matches my culture. And that's what I mean by like. The second thing is the 7-hour rule. I've done a whole video training on 7-hour rule that you can go watch, but it takes people basically 7 hours to know, like, and trust you. And what I mean is, if I'm trying to know, like, and trust you, I need to somehow be engaging with you for 7 hours before I do know, like, and trust you. And when I mean engaging, we could have a meeting, an hour meeting there, 1 hour out of the 7. I could read a white paper of yours, or I could read a post of yours. You could comment on something I'm doing. Every little thing you're doing each day, you're chipping away at that 7 hours. And as you want to build relationships, right? It's not just about how many people do you know, but how many relationships do you have? Because these people will know, like, and trust you. And when they know, like, and trust you in the federal space, you'll start hearing about more opportunities. You'll get in more doors, et cetera. And so by engaging with them on LinkedIn every day, or throughout a long process, it doesn't have to be one person every day. But as you engage with people every day on LinkedIn, more and more people will know, like, and trust you. And so if you understand what I'm saying here, first thing I want to put in the chat is put know, like, and trust. Let me know that you understand that people need to know, like, and trust you in order to work with you. You can also put KLT if you don't want to put the whole thing, but know, like, and trust, put that in the chat. The third reason why you should use LinkedIn 30 minutes a day is because you can reach thousands of potential buyers and teammates, right? I mean, the actual truth is you can reach millions, but you're not going to physically be able to do that. But there are millions of people in the government contracting federal market that are on LinkedIn. It's a professional it's a platform for professionals. It's a place for us to network, but you can certainly reach thousands of potential buyers and teammates on there. And the way you do that is by being on there every day, by being visible, showing up. Somebody once said that 90% of success is just showing up. And it totally makes sense, right? If you're not showing up, you're not going to be successful. So the fourth one, get invited to bid from buyers or join teammates. So I heard a story. Actually, Hunter, I think I saw you on there. I see you right there in the chat. Hunter told this story about how she was down in San Diego at the Navy event, Gold Coast. And because she was posting after the event, somebody reached out and said, hey, we'd love to connect with you. We saw what you're doing. We don't do what you do. And so we think it might be a good match for you to come join us. And they also got invited to be on a contract vehicle for the Navy. It was awesome. And this came from that person knowing, liking, and trusting Hunter and her company Bain Group through the engagement on there. Same thing could happen with buyers. I mean, you see Dave Waltz sometimes is on here and other federal buyers who might be looking for small businesses to bid. So these people are on there and they'll see you. And as you start targeting more of the actual agencies and companies you want to build relationships with, you will start getting more invitations to at least the conversation, right? And that's the beginning of sales. Number 5 is I want you to understand this 7-step process for federal revenue success, right? There's 7-step process for success in the federal government. Really quickly, I'll just share this just to make sure I'm showing you here. 7-step process: visibility, targeting, outreach leads to relationships, which will lead to opportunities that you can write proposals on and win sales. Whole thing there, right? And what I want you to keep in mind is being engaged 30 minutes a day on LinkedIn will help you be visible. It'll help you as you target the right people to call, so you'll know which people in an agency or a company to call. It certainly is part of your outreach activity, where not just having meetings with buyers, but your outreach portion is where they're beginning to know you. You're beginning to do this slight dance, get on their radar, and all of that leads to relationships. And that's really where we're trying to drive in today's training on this 7-step process. If you just engage 30 minutes a day on LinkedIn, 4 out of the 7 steps of the 7-step process for federal government success or federal revenue success is going to be covered in this daily activity that you do. So you want to be out there visible to the buyer and targeting the right people and doing outreach. And you can do this through LinkedIn. So if you understand that part and how it ties together with the 7-step process for federal revenue success, and that ties back to being engaged on LinkedIn, put VTO, visibility, targeting outreach, put VTO in the chat so I know you're tracking along with me. And the last thing I'll say about why here is that it's part of the quadrant 2 activity. If you've never read a book by Stephen Covey called The 7 Habits for Highly Effective People, recommend you do that. And in there, he talks about whatever you do any given day can be in one of 4 quadrants. And these quadrants, quadrant 2 is important but not urgent. That's typically where planning is done. Strategy is thought, you're thinking about it. The other quadrants I don't want to talk about, but quadrant 2 for the moment it's where we tend not to go because we're so busy with the other 3 quadrants. But when you get into quadrant 2, this is business development, right? This is actual capture. Proposal writing is not there. Proposal writing is over in quadrant 1, which is important and urgent, right? It's urgent because it's got a due date. But business development, capture activities, reaching out, developing that relationship with the customer, that's all quadrant 2. And when you're on LinkedIn 30 minutes a day, that is quadrant 2 activity, and that'll do a lot for your growth. Okay, one tip for you on success when you're using LinkedIn 30 minutes a day and you want to have success in there, before you begin doing this, before you put in a habit, pause for 1 second and just focus on your target agency and your core competency. At the beginning of the training, I said, put in your company name and your core competency into the chat. Let us know what your core competency is. And I want you to remember this, because if you're trying to reach out through LinkedIn and you say, we do cloud services and we do construction and we do some floor cleaning and we do some cybersecurity, whatever it is, right? If you've got too much, then you're not able to focus your day, and 30 minutes goes right out from underneath you. But if your focus is in LinkedIn in particular, the activity you'll do 30 minutes a day, if you can focus it on one core competency, let's say it is cloud migration, whatever, moving the government into the cloud, then everybody you try to reach will be one way or another related to cloud, which is one way or another related to what you sell. So focus on your core competency. The second thing is focus on the agency. When you focus on an agency, it does 2 things. It allows you to really dive deep in and find hundreds of people that you can reach out to and begin to develop relationships with in a federal government agency and program office. But it also allows you to identify the top 10, 20, 30 firms that are doing business, and they're small or large, identify them so you can begin to engage them on LinkedIn as well. So having that focus on core competency and agency, primary agency, will help you have a lot more success in your 30 minutes a day. If you understand what I'm saying, go ahead and put focus in the chat. I am going to share a lot of screens with you. I already said to you that the way you use LinkedIn 30 minutes a day should be viewing. And what I mean by viewing is view second-degree connection profiles. And I'll talk about that in a minute. And so you want to view second-degree connections. And what these people are so you and I are probably first-degree connections. And I hope you know what that is. Second-degree connections for me are people you're connected to, right? So I'm only 1 degree away from that person, second degree. So I want to engage those people. The second thing I want to do is engage people's content. I'm going to show you how I do that. But what engagement means is liking and commenting. And then the third thing is creating content. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how do you create content by curating content, using somebody else's content and bringing it back. But by creating content, it demonstrates to others that your company and you are a subject matter expert, and it begins to drive them to your profile and to your company for conversations about cloud, let's say. Focus in the chat. I like that, Russ. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen, and for the next few minutes, we're going to deep dive into how to do this. So let me get over here. Share my screen. Okay. The first thing I want to do, first off, shout out to Stephanie Johnson here from Simmons Johnson Consulting. She's in our community. She might even be in the chat right now. I can't see, but I noticed she posted, and she's out there engaging, got some likes and comments all within the last day, less than a day, and that's good. That's exactly what I talk about when I say get out there. But what I wanted to show you, the reason I'm on this page is I want to show you what I mean by searching or viewing second degree connections. And I'm going to use an example of, let's say I'm a data company and I want to get into FAA. So I'm going to kind of work my way down there by starting with just data. So up in the top left-hand corner, I search for data. Nothing fancy. When it comes back, what I'm looking for are second degree connections. What I'm doing is looking at their profile first to see if they're a fit for me, and then to begin to see if I can engage them in any particular way. But just by viewing their profile puts me on their radar. And then if I engage with them, it's even more. So first thing I did is search data. I got 25 million connections. That's awesome. It's a lot, but it's not what I want. So the second thing I'm going to say is just flat out, I'm just going to say United States. Just looking for people in the federal government. So that's mostly United States. I'm down from 25 to 10 million. The next thing is I want them to be second connections, not first connections or third, but second. So it's a lot easier. It's easier for me to think I can actually make a first connection with them later when I want. So I'm going from 10 million now down to 370,000, right? Dropping significantly. And then the other thing, as I said, I want them to be in the current company at FAA. So I'm just going to type in FAA, and there's that. This is the Federal Aviation Administration under Department of Transportation. So I'm going to click on that and show results. And now I got 179 names. I don't know who these people are yet, right? But I just took $25 million people and brought it all the way down to 180 people. And these 180 people over the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I can begin to engage with. I know the search that I'm doing. And so right here, I can see Chief Data Officer, and that looks good. Let me pull this out for a second so I can do a couple of these. I'm going to click on that person. Here's Deputy Chief Data Officer. That looks good. I'm going to see if I can see one more that just is kind of obvious. Information Technology Manager, Group Manager. Let's just find one more that might look like they're a chief, because Chief Data Officers, there's Agiles. Not that these people are bad. Some of these people, by the way, are contractors. You'll find it, which is fine. So this person, Tim Perez, I might look at his company and see what I can learn. He might be in there doing stuff. And then let me just try this person. So if I come in here, this Chief Data Officer, they don't share their picture to people they're not connected with, but I can see that they've been there a while, right? They're a Chief Data Officer. I can't tell if they're a Chief Data Officer for FAA or from one of the subordinate offices, but I can see them, which is great. And then I can see that they've got activity, right? And so I'm going to look in here to see how active are they. And the first thing I do is go to posts, by the way, just to see, okay, so they don't do a ton of posts out there. And then I click on articles, documents, nothing. So then I'm looking at activities, and clearly he's kind of more just celebrates other people's stuff, but it looks like he's on every day, which is perfect. So I viewed it. That's enough. I can come back to it another time. I'm going to look at this person's profile now. She's a Deputy Chief Data Officer. They might also be called Assistant Chief Data Officers. These are the people who tend to be in, the Chief Data Officers for mission areas, which is good. But I can see right away that she's engaged here as well within the last week, and that's awesome. And down here, I can also see she's been there a long time. I don't know what next gen is, which is an interesting thing. So that gives me information that I need to go look at. What is next gen as it relates to FAA? But I've got this information. This is good stuff. If I want to connect with them, I can. But right here, it's got a follow button. I've talked about this before. I would probably follow these people now in the FAA so I can track on what they're doing. I'm going to pause there because I know I'm going to run out of time. So I want to move back to some of these other ones. So the first thing I showed you was how to view second connections. I just went into the agency of choice. I chose data as the keyword I was searching on, the agency, and I whittled 25 million people down to 180 people. So hopefully if that makes sense on how to view profiles that are out there, second degree connections that are the start of how you begin to build a relationship. If that stuff makes sense, just write view profiles in the chat. Just give me a heads up that you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so this next one I wanted to say is I want you to engage with your first connections. I happen to be connected with the Deputy Chief Technology Officer at the Navy. And this guy is an awesome one to be connected with because he's constantly engaging, right? I don't know him personally. We're professionally connected on LinkedIn. We engage. He likes it when I'm promoting out further messages coming out of the Navy. And I love it when he's sharing things that I can help. So, but I wanted to give this example of what engagement. If I came in here and I said, show his activity, the first thing I do is, again, I love looking at articles, documents, and then posts. So he hasn't done much of the other two, but in here he's done posts. And this one was awesome because he posted a job announcement. And because of where I'm at, I just went in and let me see if we can find my comment. Load more comments. So let's see if I'm in here at all. I got pushed down. Oh, where am I? Oh, there I am. So I'm there and I'm somewhere else. I must have been pushed out of relevancy. But I had a comment, whatever the comment was that I had in here. But here's an example of how I'm coming in and I'm engaging in the dialogue. And I don't want to go too far on this because I teach this in a course and I go deep into it in a LinkedIn course on how. But what I did was I came in here and this person, Evan, was talking about how PEO MLB has a big impact on digital transformation. But what he said was also, so does this System Command, Marine Corps Command, right? And I think I put them down, Marine Corps Systems Command. He was saying they also have that kind of thing. And so I'm trying to engage in the dialogue to say, well, what are you talking about? Can you share more? Because I actually don't know anything about the Marine Corps System Command as it relates to digital transformation. So that was an interesting comment on his part. My point is, when you put together a list of 50 people, let's say 50 connections, that every day you come in, not engaging all 50, but you've got, let's say you give yourself 15 minutes out of the 30 minutes, you start working your way down, engaging who that person is. And sorry, let's say you got 50 people. Today you might engage 10, tomorrow it's 10 more, Monday it's 10 more, Tuesday it's 10 more, and you just work down the list and you come back up to the top and you are maintaining these relationships. You're being engaged out there. This is helpful for these people to see you, but it's also helpful for LinkedIn to be able to know that you're doing that. Let me give you a couple other examples about just getting into different areas and finding and engaging content. So I came out of this guy here, right, Lewis Copeland. I came out of him and into Bill here, who's in PEO Digital, which is where we're trying to get. I don't know Bill from Adam, but I'm looking at this saying, well, he's PEO Digital Lead Business and Financial Manager. I don't know what that is, but I do business solutions, not just mission critical solutions, but business operation type solutions. Maybe I can learn more from Bill. So at the very least, I'm going to follow him. I'm going to track on him and begin to hear about what he puts out there. And then at some points, when it makes sense, I'm going to engage with him. So like I talked about, you come in here. Let's see if he's got any of his own posts recently. So he hasn't done stuff in a long time. You're going to find this, right? Some people are on there, but they're not that engaged. But I look here to see if he's actually here. So he was here 6 days ago or whenever. So 2 weeks ago. So he's on there, but he hasn't become any kind of power user out there. But there is ways for you to engage him on some of the stuff he sees. And it's the same thing as you move forward, right? Here's this guy's digital experience lead at PEO Digital out in Navy in San Diego. These are things that I want to track on. He's engaged on LinkedIn. So I would do the same thing. I'd follow them. So that when I follow, they know that, right? And remember, I said, if I hit follow, you get this bell notification. I hit the bell, I'm going to be notified about what's going on. But I want to track on what he's doing out here in his activity, right? He's recently at PEO Digital. He's only been there a year. So it's important for me to learn. This would be a perfect person to reach out and say, hey, what have you been doing? And when you look back, you can see that they were at Nywick Pacific before being at PEO Digital. This person knows NavWar. And so if you're targeting the Navy, you know what I mean. But this ability to dig in. And so I've got a lot of these. It goes from people into the company page. And I talk about this, right, where you can go into posts. And I know I'm moving really fast on this, but I can look at the post and begin to just search. First, I click things like documents, videos, because that tends to be more meaty content. And then they're doing images. But so here, sometimes you get them posting content that is more culture content. And then sometimes it sneaks in where the next generation Navy Enterprise Service Desk is live in production. Whatever that is, right? I don't know what that is. Let me go look at it. If I want to sell to PEO Digital or if I want to sell to the Navy, I need to be aware of their big systems. Well, I can learn more of that here. But look at this. There's only one comment. If I engaged in this, then perhaps people at PEO Digital will see who I am, because if you click on PEO Digital and you look at the number of people there, there's only 39 people saying they're at DON PEO Digital. That means your content will come up on their radar. Okay, so I know I'm blowing through pretty fast. I want to jump to one other thing about sharing other people's content. And so here's an example. This is an elevator company, and I'm also going to share a Microsoft one, all of it in like 30 seconds. But one of the ways you can share content where you didn't create it, but it's still valuable to the people in your network, in your connections, is you can take something like this where Otis Elevators is talking about different, like here, one of the things I saw is they got a robot service boom, but also down here, what was the other thing I saw? Oh, this one. So if you're in elevators, one of the people in our community is Rafa. She does specialty on elevators, but here they're talking about airflow. So I would look at this study and I would try to summarize it and then send people back to Otis, right? Or if they had a download, I just put it up. I wouldn't hide the fact that this is coming from Otis, but I would summarize it into 500 words instead of 5,000 words. And that's helpful to anybody tracking on airflow and elevator. And it can be the same for your business. Doing the same thing over here with Microsoft Teams. If you're in Office 365, SharePoint, Teams, going to Microsoft's content that they share, beginning to identify stuff that they're talking about. Like they've got different articles here. If you're noticing, right? It's talking about connect naturally, make something great together. And the idea for me is that I can look in, read this stuff. I can go in and some of these might not have the, where's the article I wanted? Somewhere in here was what I was looking for. But, if I click in and I learn more, I can write, what are they talking about when they say connect naturally? What does that mean? I can drive people maybe back to Microsoft. But what I want you to keep in mind when I talk about curating content like this is you're borrowing the credibility of Microsoft or Otis when you share something out. So you're bringing value to the people in your connection. Think about your buyers. They want to know about Otis Elevators. So they want to know about Microsoft 365. You're bringing something to them they might not have seen. They're going to value it. You're going to tell them you got it from the manufacturer or something, but you get this borrowed credibility from Microsoft and from people who read it and consume your content, appreciating the fact that you've taken the time to read it and summarize it and bring it to them. So this is what I mean by curating content, finding content out there that is great and bringing it to your connections. Okay, so again, it's a fire hose of content. I do this in a course, and I also do this over multiple trainings that you might have seen from past replays. But in today, we talked about using LinkedIn 30 minutes a day to improve your success in federal government sales. And if you remember one thing, just remember, remember these three things: view, engage, and create. If you view people every day, engage a little bit with your connections every day, and create something every day. Doesn't have to be a lot. It could be some pretty minimal thing. Even create every week, right? If you're doing that, view, engage, and create, then you will get a lot more traction on LinkedIn, and you will see yourself beginning to have more success in federal sales through LinkedIn and that platform. So if you found the training valuable today, do me a favor, throw thanks in for me and the team into the chat. And then remember, government contracting, it's not a secret. It's just a process. I'll see you in the next training, and I hope you have an awesome day.